Hi, everybody. We are live at the studio, and we are thrilled to have with us Dr. Shama Patel, who is a naturopathic doctor, and her health coach from Nova Clinic, Rebecca Fallon. I remember like doing that. And we're going to be talking about hormones and thyroid health, and probably a little bit more on the thyroid health because it's such a prominent issue. But we're going to start out by letting them introduce themselves, and then we're also going to help you all understand a little bit more about what naturopathic medicine is. And then we'll get into our topic. And if you happen to join while we're doing this or have questions afterwards, if you're watching the replay, definitely let us know. If you've got questions, you can just, put a comment in, and we'll keep our eye on that. So with that, Shama, I'll let you start. Actually, just with your introduction, and we'll let Rebecca give a little bit of background.
Yeah, we can do it together.
Okay.
So I'm Dr. Patel. I'm a naturopathic doctor. We have a practice out in downtown Alpharetta. Our practice is mainly geared towards, it's actually geared towards everybody. But I have a personal passion with thyroid, so I like to talk about thyroid and see people with thyroid. And we focus a lot on women's health and more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else do? We do so much.
Women's health, getting down to the root cause when people aren't feeling well, empowering people to.
And it's there that we help just with general wellness. So not just female health, but just overall health for everybody.
Awesome.
And then Rebecca, you're doing health coaching.
I'm a functional medicine certified health coach. So I work really closely with Dr. Patel, and sometimes when we're looking at making lifestyle changes and, improvements to our health, it can get overwhelming. So I'm really a cheerleader and a support to help people stay on track and give people tools to kind of not just implement healthy things. We all know what that should be, but it's the challenges of our life and stress and things like that. So helping people overcome those challenges.
Awesome. And manage it better.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so when I asked Dr. Patel what she wanted to cover, these were the two topics, and again, in the area that is personal for her, and it's personal for me as well. I have hypothyroid and Hashimoto's. So, and my wellness journey, or journey just dealing with that condition, has been pretty long, and I've been on medication and off medication, supplements and diet changes and all that. But what's been interesting to me is how common of an issue it's becoming, not just hypothyroid, but Hashimoto's. So we definitely wanted to dive into that condition. We could talk maybe a little bit about hyperthyroid, but I guess let's start by talking about what are some of the common symptoms that you see when
most people will come in, they'll have complaints about they're gaining weight, or they're having trouble losing weight, or extra pounds that are just starting to creep up on them, even though they're eating healthy, they're working out, they're doing all the right things, but they're just still finding weight coming on.
Right.
And then they might even notice energy, they're getting more sluggish, and they're tired. They get 10 hours of sleep and they're still tired. 8 hours of sleep, they're tired. It doesn't matter how much sleep they got. So that's one of the things too. And then cold hands and feet is actually a really common one, and that's one that people don't realize is actually a symptom. They just think they tend to have poor circulation.
Right.
But our thyroid has a role in regulating our body temperature. So that's why that's one of the symptoms.
Okay.
And then I think. I touched on energy, weight. Those are the common ones. Hair loss is another good one. And that's typically because of a nutrient deficiency, right? But the thyroid is important for growth and development. So our hair follicles, our hair grows. So if we have a low thyroid, our hair isn't able to keep up with it.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why that happens. And then brain fog, poor concentration. That's a big one too. And that's not just for Hashimoto's. Right? That's for just hypothyroid. Because if you're sluggish and you're tired, your brain is not full throttle. So it's just harder for you to keep up. Those are some of the common ones. There's obviously a lot more because it can affect your hormones. So that's why we kind of put
those two in the same bucket.
Yeah, because it can affect your hormones. So if it's and stress is another thing. This is going away from symptoms, but a lot of people will attribute their fatigue because they're stressed out.
Right.
But it's really when they get stressed out, their thyroid gets stressed out, and they stop making thyroid hormone, or they start reversing it into a different type of hormone, which
Okay.
I can geek out on that, so we'll stop there.
And then actually one quick just thing that popped in.
Yeah.
So what, and this is too complicated to cover now, but what about, what's the difference between adrenal fatigue and thyroid, or like this, they have some similar symptoms, I guess?
There's similar symptoms because adrenal fatigue can cause or can be a contributing factor of low thyroid, because adrenals, cortisol, if you're stressed out, that's going to affect the way your thyroid responds. Right. Because our thyroid is really protective. It's literally a shield, right? So it's really protective, and it's responding and adapting to the body and the stressors that the body feels. So if our adrenals are taxed, then the thyroid's going to say, okay, I need to slow things down, so my adrenals can keep up, my body can keep up. So it'll literally slow things down, and you won't feel yourself. Right. So I typically put them together. Okay. So if people are complaining of adrenal fatigue, then I look at their thyroid too.
And what about sleep? What if people are having issues with sleep? I know adrenal fatigue for sure. There's like a common telltale sign of waking up at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Or not being able to go to sleep. Right. And then they finally get to bed, and the whole rhythm is off. Yeah. So that's a good sign. There's 3 stages of adrenal fatigue too. So it's figuring out what stage they're in. Right. Early stage, mid, or late. Okay. And then there's different ways to support that.
Okay. Cool. And I'm just going to say hi to Dawn, who joined. And Dawn, can you hear us okay? We should make sure the mic is working.
Especially me. I've got a little bit of a sore throat, so I know I need to project a little bit more.
Yeah. Hopefully you can hear us. Yeah. Okay, cool. So those are symptoms. And you talked a little bit about also why the thyroid is important in the body. Is there anything else you want to mention about that?
So other than,
because people
the most
like,
common we know is metabolism, right? So it's important for metabolism, growth and development. So that even goes back to like if you're planning on getting pregnant. So it's important for pregnancy because growth and development of your baby or your fetus. And then body temperature regulation is a big one, again with the cold hands and feet. It turns your immune system on. Most people don't know that. So when you have a viral infection or something, it will actually go and turn on the immune system and activate different immune markers to go into fight mode. And that's probably there's probably a reason why, I don't know if you've heard of Epstein-Barr virus causing or
that there's a theory, that's kind of,
And I think that's part of the reason, because your thyroid hormone really responds to the immune system and what it needs, because the hormone goes and activates DNA and turns things on, right, in our body. So that's an important one. So some people may even feel like when they have low thyroid, they have a poor immune reaction. They get cold more frequently. They always have a sinus infection, or any of the above, right?
And I wanted to say too, one of the most common calls I get is people call and they describe all these very common symptoms of thyroid. Something is going on with your thyroid, like the cold hands and feet, my hair's falling out, and I just don't feel right. I feel off. And they tell me, well, my doctor checked my thyroid and it's fine. And what we find when we do our testing is that's actually not fine. So I think that's really common, that people think their thyroid's okay, but they're not getting the proper testing.
Yeah, that's a great point. Do you want to talk a little bit about why there's a more comprehensive thyroid panel?
So typically, in order to get diagnosed with a hypothyroid condition, your TSH is what's going to get measured. And that's essentially the signal from the brain to the thyroid. If that signal is above 4.0, that's when you're diagnosed with hypothyroid. But you may be having symptoms at a lower number, right? Because that range is not individualized, it's a range. Some people feel their best at like a 2.0 TSH, and they start getting symptoms at 3.0, but that's still not diagnosable, which means you can't get medication for that. So that's where we'll kind of see where you are, and I don't just measure TSH, I'll measure all
antibodies
as well, and some nutrients like iron and vitamin D, things that your thyroid needs to work efficiently. Your body can make the hormone, but then your thyroid can make the hormone, but then your body has to convert it. And that's dependent on how is your liver functioning. Do you have enough zinc? Do you have enough B12, vitamin D, iron, selenium? Did I mention selenium?
Not yet.
And we'll talk more about that.
We will,
because I think that's becoming more popular now too. So we'll look at all those factors and see what's affecting your body, and is it cortisol bringing it back to the adrenals? So there's a thyroid hormone marker that kind of tells us how that's going on. So it's called reverse T3. So we'll look into that. But interestingly, also blood sugar regulation. So dips in like irregular blood sugar regulation throughout the day can really affect your thyroid because you're going up and down. And so can like a low calorie diet, low nutrient status. Like our thyroid does so much that it needs to have all the right
it needs support. So it's a powerhouse. But
so drastic diets that women or men go on that are really, cutting calories too low or just too restrictive,
they tax
can maybe trigger.
And on that note, that's why it's also important if you have a hypothyroid state or Hashimoto's, you want to be careful with detoxing too. Like you want to do a gentle detox. A lot of times when the new year comes around, we see all these ads for detoxing and getting clear skin and getting on your health track. But it's important to have a healthcare provider or a team supporting you on that journey, because that can, again, stress the thyroid and make it lower it.
There's a couple other things I want to mention, but one thing actually I just thought about, can you explain what Hashimoto's is for people who don't know?
Absolutely. So Hashimoto's, I don't think that name is actually used in diagnosis anymore. I think it's just called autoimmune thyroiditis now. And it's essentially an autoimmune reaction to your thyroid, and specifically a thyroid like enzyme, not the thyroid tissue. And those enzymes are what makes the thyroid hormone. So it's really interesting that the body does it that way. So when these antibodies are elevated in the presence of hypothyroid, so you still have to have that TSH number showing hypothyroidism, and then also have the presence of antibodies. It's the anti-TPO antibody or the thyroglobulin antibody. If those are elevated, then you're considered to have Hashimoto's or autoimmune thyroiditis. You can still have some antibodies and not have Hashimoto's clinically diagnosed. That just indicates that there is an autoimmune reactivity, but since your TSH is not diagnosable yet, it's not considered autoimmune thyroiditis as a diagnosis.
And so in general, I guess when you hear autoimmune, one of the kind of areas that you kind of want to start thinking about is anti-inflammatory, right?
Anti-inflammatory and things that, anti-inflammatory, but things that calm the stress in the body as well. Why is the body attacking itself? Are there pathogens? How's your gut health? So those are things that can trigger a hypothyroid state, and then a leaky gut type of picture can trigger an autoimmune state. Your genetics can tell you if you're more susceptible, but it's still something that can be managed by finding the root cause and cleaning it out, and supporting.
So that's, and actually, I think you did already explain a little bit about what naturopathic medicine is, or did you? Forget now if we did. But you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but do you want to just talk maybe about the principles of naturopathic medicine?
Yeah, absolutely. So naturopathic medicine is, the essential philosophy is, we believe that the body has an innate ability to heal itself, given the conditions of health, the right conditions of health. So if there's an imbalance there, we want to remove those obstacles so that the body can do what it needs to do and what it's best at, what it was born to do, which is taking care of us and healing whatever needs to be healed so we can keep going and live the life that we want to live. So those foundations that we want to work on is everything that you see in life, your sleep, your diet, your water, environmental toxicities that could be in the food and the water, right? You want to make sure you're drinking and eating healthy foods, and that's low toxicity, because that's a chemical stressor on your body. And then just even on the nutrition side, are you eating enough nutrients? Are you eating the rainbow, right, of colors in your diet? Are you eating enough veggies and enough fruits? Are you getting all the minerals that you need? And if you're not, then multivitamin is helpful. And then your stress. How are we adapting to stress? How are we responding to stress and managing it in our life in whatever shape or form it enters our life? Whether it's a physical trauma, you get into a car accident, your body gets stressed out. How do we support the body to heal from that and manage that? Emotional stress, relationships, right? Whether it's friendships or any business partnerships, anything, right? that list
yeah, totally.
On, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned sleep, but sleep is what exercise, all of that. We want to make sure all those are fine-tuned. Your social well-being, your social connection, and then we dive in deeper. What do your hormones look like? What do your lab results show us? That's kind of a more functional medicine approach that I like to take.
Right.
But going in and making sure that those, they're called determinants of health, making sure those are, and I have this little thing, but those are strong. So a strong foundation leads to a healthy body. So if you guys come into Great Owl, this little pamphlet is here, and it just tells more information about what naturopathic medicine is, our pyramid. I can't do it backwards.
You got it.
There we go. The determinants of health are at the bottom, and the last resort is like surgery, pharmaceuticals. So naturopathic medicine is all inclusive, right? It's not about you can't do anything else, you can't do medication. It's part of our scope. Yeah. It's just a last resort. And if it's something that's needed on a low dose or something that's needed on a high dose, whatever your body needs, it's very inclusive and it's just individualized. So that's. Do you have any other?
Cool. No, and we were talking about, and I think that's an important part. And we were talking about that before we got started. That bio individuality with like diet and supplements and everything else. Like you may end up having Hashimoto's and thyroid, or but it could be a couple other things too. So you kind of want to know for you specifically, even if you might be doing research on the internet and finding guidance on like supplements and things like that. But it definitely helps to talk to an actual professional to make sure, do your labs or get your labs done and make sure that the choices that you're making are actually helping you versus making it worse. Like we were talking about selenium, and just this week we had some nuts here at the studio, and Brazil nuts were in them. And Brazil nuts are really high in selenium, but you actually can eat too many of them. As a matter of fact, you really shouldn't have more than 1 or 2 a day. And it's easy to just start, popping them like you would peanuts or whatever else. But there is, potential adverse reaction if you do that. So just being educated fully and completely and talking to like a healthcare professional about it it's just a good idea.
And especially if you're taking a multivitamin that has selenium in it.
And then you add, and then you like add 5%.
Yeah. And then you're getting more than
And I asked Dr. Patel what's like the issues that you could just have.
Some of them could be like hair loss and fatigue. Like, things that you've already experienced.
A selenium overdose.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, and then actually on that topic, and it was something somebody else had asked too, what are some general things? I know again, we talked about by individuality and individual treatment plans, but what are some like high level things that people, just to give them some help and idea, help and ideas. No, well, of lifestyle changes that they could make. Okay. Well, you talked about some of this already with them. But so in general.
Lifestyle changes, I would say, if there's a lot of stress in your life, then finding a way to manage it, whether it's meditation or yoga, or journaling is a really great way, getting in tune with your feelings, understanding why things are showing up the way they are. So that mind-body connection, the emotional piece is very important, because if you're familiar with chakras, like that's your throat chakra. It's an energy source. It's part of our energy. So how do we heal that? What is going on? So the more you're in tune with it, the more that's why I think journaling really helps with it. Because it's a way to
communicate in some way.
Yeah. And open up a little bit. But the opposite end of that is, are you listening? Right? Are we talking too much and not listening enough? So that's part of that too. So lifestyle, that's one of them. And then also nutrients, like do we know what we're deficient in, what we need to eat more of? So like pumpkin seeds are great sources of zinc. Oysters are another great source. I just don't like them. Clams, so those are great sources too.
And we have testing that we do, because maybe your selenium is fine, maybe it's something else that's low. So when we can look at the testing, we can personalize things for what the actual person in front of us needs, versus go to a health food store and just, this says thyroid support. Well, maybe that's not good for you. Maybe you need something else.
Maybe there's an herb in there that's not right for you. And so the nutrient testing is something I love to do because it's very individualized. So that's one that I do like to do a lot. And then I think somebody else talked about
Don had some questions.
So
all of the above.
Potentially. Depending on what we're testing for. So if I'm doing a thyroid panel, it's blood. I do my thyroid panel is about 8 tests in there. So I test all the actual hormones, the antibodies, and then also the TSH. But I also include like vitamin D, iron, B12, folate, because I want to look at the whole picture. Do you have enough of those nutrients?
Yeah. How
is it playing a role in that physiology, right? Because I'm not looking for pathology. I'm actually looking at the functionality of your thyroid hormones. And then, so that's the just lab work. We don't really do hair analysis, but stool, yes, we'll do a stool test to see how your gut is functioning, if there are any pathogens there, if there's a candida overgrowth or imbalance in good bacteria, because that can be part of it too. We give probiotics left and right now, which is great when you need it. But sometimes we're taking too much of a good one,
right?
And then that causes an imbalance. So the stool test is great to tell me, what does your good flora look like? Do you need a different probiotic? Or most of us get one that has lactobacillus in it.
Right.
But what if we're high on that now and low on something else? So that can give opportunity for another bacteria or a virus or a yeast to overgrow. So we want to just keep that in balance. And again, our emotions play a role in our gut health.
Right.
So if you feel anxious, you get the butterflies in your tummy.
Yeah.
Right. Same idea. It's literally your emotions are affecting your gut health, and the flora balance there.
And in the stool test too, there are certain strains of bacteria that are believed to be autoimmune triggers. So if you have something like that and you have an autoimmune thyroid problem, it's probably good to know that and address that root cause of gut health.
And then you see that question?
Yeah. So the stool test has a marker in it for a leaky gut. So we'd be able to see if there's a leaky gut there. And a lot of times, if it doesn't show up, I would still use a leaky gut protocol just in case, because the leaky gut testing is still fairly new. So the ranges may not be as strict.
Right.
So even if you're having all the symptoms, but your leaky gut marker is not lab high, I'm still going to consider a leaky gut protocol because you're having the symptoms.
Right.
So we don't want to just treat the test, treat the numbers. You want to treat the whole patient, the whole person, and what their symptoms include. That's how, with thyroid, subclinical hypothyroid is what we would call it, right? Because it's not diagnosable yet.
Right.
So same thing with the leaky gut. And then Dawn had a question about saliva as well. Saliva testing we do, that's typically either genetic testing or we'll do that for like your cortisol. So an adrenal test. Is there another saliva? I think those are the two that we do.
Those are the two
main ones.
Very good. So we talked about food, supplements. Anything you want to say on medications related to?
Yeah. So are we good on time?
Yeah, we're got a couple more minutes. So maybe just a little bit on your view of medications. And and then I was thinking too, you could mention like what to expect if they come for like an appointment. Like
absolutely. So medications is a great thing to talk about. So a lot of people are on it, and that's fine. Like our naturopathic philosophy is if you need medication, you can take it. So my personal story, I actually had Hashimoto's. I'm in remission now. So that's why I have such a passion about it and teaching about it and helping others go through it. I actually was about to take my first round of boards when I found out that I had Hashimoto's.
A little bit of stress at that point in your life.
It's like, so, okay, makes sense. There's a lot of stress going on. I probably wasn't eating the best because there's a lot of stress going on. So because of that, one of the thyroid markers that I had because of cortisol was really high. So my doctor gave me a bioidentical T3 to take. So that actually really helped me. I took it for about 3 months. It got me through boards. I was able to wake up. I was the person who I would sleep until 10. I could never get up before 10 a.m. And that's not good when you're in school and you're trying to study for boards.
Right.
I need to wake up at 7:30 or 5:30 to work out and get to work. Right. But I could not, and I just could not focus. So I took the bioidentical T3. I'm like, okay, this is going to give me the edge. This is what I need. I need T3.
A little bit of help.
Yeah. It got me through it. But 2.5 months of taking it, I started feeling worse and going all the way back to square one. And then I just decided this isn't correcting my issue. My issue was a conversion issue. So if I was taking the T3, I was still getting converted into something that wasn't usable. Right. It's not active because I'm still stressed out. So I needed to fix that in order for it to work for me. I was making enough thyroid hormone. It shows us going in the wrong direction.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I can go on and on, so you have to cut me off.
No. I also want to see if there are any other questions, but that makes great sense. I've had some interesting conversations too with doctors where they're like, it doesn't work like that. I'm like, well, I think it does, so I'm just gonna do this.
Yeah.
I want to give my thyroid a chance to kind of do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to give up on it yet. Yeah.
Like, our body's very intelligent and knows what to do.
Right.
It just needs to be nurtured and given what it needs.
Right.
And that takes some investigation if we don't understand our bodies.
And I guess the other thing I'll say too about naturopathic and holistic health is it does take effort too. Like you've got to make some lifestyle changes. You got to put in the time. So it's like a partnership with your doctor, and it's definitely something that you need to put in the effort. But I think the payoff is totally worth it. So,
absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think since we're getting close, any other questions? Oh, okay. Wait, you've got another one. What do you think about bioidentical?
Well, I mean, if you need it, if it's working for you, it's fine. That's something I would recommend talking to your doctor about for sure.
Would Nature Throat is not, no. Nature Throat is just a porcine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so can you explain what the bioidentical?
Bioidentical is so it's a thyroid hormone that's going to be bioidentical. It's more
personalized,
natural.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I'm stuttering now. Instead of like Synthroid or
levothyroxine,
that's a synthetic.
Okay.
Right, and that's T4, but that's a synthetic. So bioidenticals are made to be more in line with what our body is, more natural for our body. So that's the real difference. A lot of people will gear towards that more.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine as long as it's working for you.
Right.
It's actually helping you. Your symptoms are going down. You're feeling better.
Right.
Then yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well then, why don't we wrap it up with what would be if somebody was interested in making an appointment? What do they do? Do they start with Rebecca and then?
Sure. Yeah. So what we usually do is we set up a free 20-minute consult with me, and I can kind of do get all the information on what exactly is going on, and then how we can help, and kind of go over what the appointment, just the whole process. So that's a free consult. We will have a link.
Yes,
I believe.
It should be here already.
So my schedule's online. You could just click to schedule. And then if you're ready, if you've heard what you needed to hear, you can certainly just give the office a call, and we would get you set up with a new patient appointment with Dr. Patel. And we set aside 90 minutes. It's extremely thorough. Dr. Patel is very thorough.
I like to hear your story. So.
Yeah. So that's kind of the first step. But if you're just wanting a little bit more information, definitely get on the schedule with me, and then we can go over any questions that you might have.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you have any labs that you want to bring in that are recent, you're welcome to bring those in. I typically like seeing your supplements that you're on, so I can look at the ingredients and the dosages that you're on and see what can be kept, what can be finished, or what just to stop. Yeah, that doesn't always happen.
Okay.
Typically, it's let's finish it, because people do their research. They get good quality things, but it's just not what's right for them.
Right.
It's time.
Got it. Okay, and if you have any questions that we didn't get to answer, you're welcome. Dawn, thanks for joining us and asking questions. Or if you're watching this later, you could put some questions here. I guess we'll monitor the video and answer the best we can. The comments that you might leave. And thank you guys for tuning in. And you will probably see Dr. Patel in the studio throughout the year too. We were planning on doing something on
food sensitivities.
Yeah, on food sensitivities in March. I think March 6th was the day. Was it March 6th? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do like a bring your own lunch and learn at the studio.
Yeah.
And
food sensitivities and how they play a role in thyroid too.
Yeah.
It's a stressor.
Yeah. So definitely join us for that. So thank you all for tuning in. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.